Right, hello everybody, this is my first video of 2020 and it's my vinyl tag for 2020 and I'm going to attempt to try and get this done within 20 minutes, but there is no guarantees. So I think last year my vinyl tag went on about 42 minutes, which, you know, I really want it to be a wee bit shorter than that. I know most of these ones are a bit longer than normal for most people, but I want to try and get it a wee bit shorter than my last one. So yeah, this is my second time doing the vinyl tag, and it's quite a fun thing to do. I enjoy trying to find answers to all the questions. So 20 questions. Here I go. Before I start though, I just want to say Happy New Year everybody, and I hope you are all doing well and you know, looking forward to lots of record collecting over the year. So right, without further ado, question one. I've got them all scribbled on this bit of paper. I took them down off of Ron Haggerty's. He was the first one I had watched for 2020's vinyl tag, and he's got them listed in his comment section, so you can copy and paste them, and I'll have them listed below here as well should you wish to copy them for your own later on. So yeah, best find of 2019. Now for me, this has to be my best find of 2019. It was a kind of a semi-grail. It's Roadhouse, the band, self-titled. I think they're one and done as far as albums goes. And this is the band that former Def Leppard guitarist Pete Willis got together with a bunch of other guys, and they recorded this album in Sheffield, in a studio in Sheffield. Somewhere, it does tell you somewhere. And it came out in 1991, and I've been after a copy of this for quite a long time. And obviously with the 90s, although early 90s weren't not just quite so bad to find, but they can be tricky to find. I do apologise for the glare here obviously, but it's in one of these shiny sleeve things. The bonus for me for this was it's autographed by all the band members, and that is Pete Willis's autograph right there. So for me, being a massive fan of the old Def Leppard, the original Def Leppard, this was a super bonus for me to have Pete Willis. And the other guys in this band, you've got them all dotted about. There's about 5 of them, I think. And this was actually a very reasonable price. I found it on eBay, and it's in excellent condition. It's beautiful, and the other thing about it was also my first record with the proper Vertigo swirl label. It's on the Vertigo label and it does have the swirl. So yeah, brilliant. Best find, I would say. So that's number one. Good, on 3 minutes in already. 2, favourite album of 2019 is this one. Ooh, something's just fell at my feet. I've got a bunch of stuff piled up for this thing, and it's just, there we go. This one, best or favourite album of 2019 is the wording for this. Avantasia, let me put my teeth in here. Tobias Sammet's Avantasia. Moonglow, released February, and it's a double album, and it's simply fantastic, is all I have to say. It blows my mind every time I listen to it. I'm not going to say too much about it because I'm going to do a review in my 2019, and that'll feature in that as well. Number 3, Novelty Record. Well, this was kind of easy for me, simply because I picked this up last year, and so I just knew right away it would work. So my Novelty Record is this. It is a Moomin Valley picture disc, and it's the new soundtrack to the new animated Moon Valley series that's come out. Beautiful image, and on the other side of this is the details of all the songs. You know, that was the inner, but the record itself, as I say, it is a picture album. That's the back cover, and on the other side, side 2, is another picture of Moomintroll himself. So yeah, and it's, you know, it's really nice. It plays pretty decent. As I say, it purely was bought as a novelty item. I used to love the Moomins when I was a kid. One of my favourite kiddie programmes back in the day. So I'll just slot that back in there. There we go. So that was my novelty. That's number 3. 4. A homage cover, or an album cover that you believe pays tribute to an older band. This one, Riot City, Burn the Night. This is brand new this year. It's a 2019 release, and I've just recently landed it. So I believe they are kind of paying homage to Judas Priest. This particular bit here is like the kind of, it's like a bird. You know, there's the claws, and this is the face, and it's the face here. You could possibly even say it partly pays homage to this one. That's the latest from last year, Power. What the heck is it? Firepower. So that's my homage cover, Riot City. And Burn the Night. Excellent album it is. Number 5, a B-side or a deep cut. Well, that could have been, I could have gone for loads, obviously. I've decided to go with this one. It's a B-side. It was a B-side of a single in 1989. And it's also a deep cut because it's obviously an album track. But it is Runnin' Wild, and it's the B-side of Bad to the Bone. This is a CD reissue from the box set that I have, but the original, I think it was released on CD single, which is ultra hard to get, the original, and also on 12-inch maxi single in Germany, which is a grail. I Want It, the original 89. So the B-side on it is The Battle of Waterloo, this track here, which appears on the album Death or Glory, favourite Runnin' Wild album, and it's just one of these epic heavy metal anthem type songs. It's a, you know, it's, the lyrics are kind of, it's about the Battle of Waterloo and stuff like that, and it is just, it's cool. It's really, really good. It's just, it's one of these songs that gives you that feeling, the fuzzy feeling, that all warm and good feeling. So that's my B-side / deep cut. Next, something funky. Right, okay, well, like one or two of the others in the metal club, if you like, I'm not huge on funk. I don't have much of that at all in my collection, so the best thing I could think of is this. It's a 12-inch picture disc. It's Extremes Get the Funk Out from, was it 1990? Yes, 1990 this was released, and with nothing else, it has the word funk. There is the actual disc. Yeah, and obviously, you know, this is Get the Funk Out, the single, and Lil Jack Horny and Nice Place to Visit are on the other side. And yeah, Get the Funk Out, you know, Extreme, there is a kind of hint or two of funky elements in the song. It's got a right groove to it. Yeah, so that's my one. I actually won this record from a local radio station contest back in 1990. Back when my local radio station actually had a heavy metal programme that aired weekly, even though weekly was quite pathetic, but that's what it was in Britain. But yeah, and so I entered the competition, and the guy pulled my name out of the hat, and that was the prize. I just try to keep these reasonably organised. So that was the funky thing. Yeah, Weird Shelf Buddies, number 7. I like this. This is quite funny. I've seen some interesting combinations. So I did 2 here. I've pulled out a couple of records from the record shelf and a couple of CDs from the CD shelf. So yeah, the records. 2 that sit together on my shelf are right at the start, where I have the numbers before the letter A. 10cc. What the devil's it called? Deceptive Bends. This album sits right beside 220 Volt and Eye to Eye. So yeah, 10cc, they're kind of 70s pop rock, if you like, and 220 Volt are 80s European heavy metal, melodic hard rock. And let me just grab these, the 2 CDs. So you've got Bloodbound, Swedish power metal band. And this is 2009 this came out, so you've got Bloodbound's Tabula Rasa, and they sit right next to Susie Bogus, Gimme Some Wheels. Susie Bogus, American country singer, very upbeat stuff, good stuff. So there we have the Shelf Buddies. What next? I was there, a band you've seen live. Okay, well I saw Bon Jovi live and on this tour, on the These Days tour, which was 1996. God, I think it was July 96. It was a stadium show. They came to Ibrox Stadium in Glasgow. This was in the days where I tolerated going through to Glasgow. I will not do it anymore. You can take that one and shove it. It's expensive enough, people. So yeah, and I went to see them on this tour, and I can't remember, I think Skunk Anansie was one of the support acts. I can't remember, there was somebody else. Was it Skunk Anansie? Aye, I think it was, who I wasn't really excited about. But yeah, we had great seats. We were in the front row of the upper tier, and it was a nice day. And the Bon Jovi, they played all the classics that had come before, you know, from stuff from all the albums back to their first, you know, and stuff for this one. Encores, one of the encores, the last one was Living on a Prayer, and by this time half the stadium had started to leave because they delayed it and delayed it and delayed it, but I didn't move. I wasn't going until I heard it. So yeah, Bon Jovi 96. Keep losing my place here because I've scribbled all the time. Oh, number 9, an OG that you wish you had but you have a repress of. Well, yeah, that is quite easy for me, and I'll probably never have the original, but it's the Def Leppard EP, the first original pressing. So yeah, I have 2 reissues actually. I've got this 12-inch version, which is the Record Store Day 20, was it 17? Can't remember. And I have a 7-inch replica which came in the box set that they released also in, was that 20, 18, I can't even remember anymore, but yeah, both with the red labels, with the original artwork, but I wish I had an original pressing of the red label, and with autographs. There's a few of them the band signed because they gave them away, so I would love to have that, but you're talking anywhere between £500 and £1,000, so it's highly unlikely I'm going to have that in my collection anytime soon. Discography, or a band I own the most stuff of, or the complete albums, singles. Well, yeah, again, that is Def Leppard, and it's the original Def Leppard. These are the guys. I definitely have the most stuff from this band, and this single in itself, Love Bites, I think I've got about 12 or 13 different pressings of this single. Excuse me a minute, this is just... so I have everything of theirs from... I've got the second pressing of the EP that I just showed there, which is on the yellow label. I've got 2 of them. I've got all the singles on vinyl. I've got all the Hysteria original singles on 7-inch and 12-inch vinyl. Most of them on CD. I've still got a couple of gaps to fill there. I've got the CD videos, I've got the laser discs, I've got the VHS. I've got cassettes of all the albums. And I've got every Def Leppard album up to retroactive, and yet you say, oh, but you haven't got their entire discography. But as far as I'm concerned, yes, I have, because as far as I'm concerned, the band ceased to be Def Leppard, as far as I'm concerned, after 1991. So this album features the last works that they've ever put out by Steve Clark, and he's the reason I am a fan of this band from that era. So yeah, and anything to do with Steve Clark I will collect. So that's that one. Right, 1 second, I'm just looking for places to put stuff here. Next, God, I'm only at number 10, I've got 3 minutes. Right, moving on. 11, a unique centre label. Right, well, like a lot of other people who seemed a bit baffled by this one, you know, weren't too sure about the meaning behind it, but I've just pulled something out and gone with it, and it's going to be this album here, Knight Rider Soundtrack, which was Record Store Day from last year. And I am putting, this is my unique centre label. I'll just take it out here so you can see it clearer. Obviously it's the soundtrack to the original TV series from the 80s, and that is my unique centre label because it is the official logo of FLAG, which was the Foundation for Law and Government, which is the fictional organisation that Michael Knight worked for. And I figured it's unique to them because if it was on anyone else's record, it would be a breach of copyright, even if it is a fictional organisation. So there you go, that's my one for that. I'm just going to put that there. Next up, oh yes, somebody pre-band, somebody who was in bands and then went on to become famous in other bands later on, kind of thing. So I wasn't sure who to go with this. I could have picked 1 or 2 people, and I thought, I'll just go with this guy, as I know a little bit about him. So I'm going with Phil Collen, Phil Collen of Def Leppard. That's who he's famous for being with now. Now, Phil Collen, before he got lucky and invited into Def Leppard, and you know, the rest is history as far as his career goes there. He was in Girl. Now, by the time he was in Girl, who was a glam rock band as well, very early 80s, he was beginning to become well known in the London scene and the music scene around Britain, but you wouldn't say he was world class famous at that point either. But prior to Girl, Phil Collen was in another 2 bands, and the first one he was in, sorry about the glare, this is an image from Discogs. He was in a band called Lucy, who were very kind of late 70s punk rock. And that they released 2 singles, I believe. And this was one of the singles, which I've just, and I think it came out in 77. They released another 7-inch single in 78. According to Discogs, that's all there is on their discography. Wrong way, that's ambush, so ignore that. Then after Lucy, he was in another band called Dumb Blondes. This would be about 78, 79, 80, something like that. And like before, they only ever released, I think, I could be wrong, a 7-inch single or a double A-side, Strange Love, backed with Sorrow. And just, that is a picture of the original Dumb Blondes there. And this is Phil Collen, who is now in Def Leppard. They're sporting a Gibson Les Paul Custom. He just looks a wee bit kind of silly there, but you know, punk rock, glam rock, I guess that's... He didn't look any more silly than any other bands of the time, because they all looked a bit silly, really, so there you go. So that's my... and then, you know, Girl, he went into Girl after that with Phil Lewis and... what's his name? Jerry Laffey. Phil Lewis now is in LA Guns. He went on to form that, so there's another one as well. And Phil Collen went into Def Leppard, so that is my before they were famous person. Where am I now? So we've passed the 20-minute mark. Sorry about that. Hope you're still with me. An underrated album, question 14. Well, I'm showing this album, and I'm going to say this is underrated. This is Bonfire's latest from 2018. It was my joint favourite album of that year, along with the Judas Priest behind me. And I'm telling you it's underrated because I don't see enough people in the vinyl community saying, I've got this album. I know a handful that do, and every one of them says it's fantastic, but I think it's just, you know, I'm calling it underrated because possibly it's like a lot of things in this day and age, they don't get the same airplay and publicity these days. But honestly, if you're into melodic, hard rock, German metal, classic, in the vein of the 80s, but obviously this is a bit more modern sound and production wise and all the rest of it, this is amazing. So that's my underrated album. Yeah, so where are we now? Just going to put that one down there as well. 15. Oh yeah, I've got them the wrong way round. That was actually question 14, the underrated album. But question 13 should have come before it, which is this one now. Recommend a musical book or movie. I'm recommending K.K. Downing's Heavy Duty Days and Nights in Judas Priest. I just recently got this as a birthday present for myself, and I haven't even started to read it yet. But I'm still recommending it because I just have a feeling it will be rather interesting. So, yeah. And there's the customary photos and all that stuff inside. So, K.K. Downing. Well, that one, I'm going to sit that there. I've got so much stuff sitting about here, but I'm sure we all did. So that was that. Now on to number 15, a batting average. A band that consistently churns out good albums. Well, my pick for this is, and I don't have all their albums, but I have a few, and I'm going with Sabaton. I discovered this band only a couple of years ago myself, 2 or 3 years ago, and every album I've got of theirs, and I've got about 5 of them I think, everyone is fantastic. I do not have the latest one, which was just released this year yet, I've still got that, but what I've heard so far, it's again fantastic. So Primo Victoria, this was their debut album, and what else have I got with Sabaton? We have The Last Stand, Carolus Rex, Coat of Arms, sorry about the glare, and The Art of War. And all of these are absolutely superb albums. So again, power metal from Sweden. If you've never sampled Sabaton before, they are Swedish power metal, and most of their albums tend to be themed on historical wars and historic battles and things like that. So, excuse me while I just put them back down here. So that's that one. 16, same album, different cover. Again, this one came to mind quickly actually for me. And this is Domain, and the album Our Kingdom. And this here is Kingdom, and the album Lost in the City. But they are both, I just feel like I'm all 60s and 70s here, they are both exactly the same band and exactly the same album. This was what they were first known as. They called themselves Kingdom. This is their debut, and they were calling it Lost in the City. So the Front Row Records started pressing them out, CD as well. There's a few CDs out there as well, which seem to go for, they can be a bit pricey to get the CDs of this. And then for some reason, I really don't know, I still haven't gone in to look properly at the detail. They changed their name to Domain and changed the name of the album to Our Kingdom. And so they were both, and this album came out 1988, both of them, and these are both German pressings. And I'm just going to show you, there is the track listing. Now the opening track is called Lost in the City, which is what they originally were going to call this. I'm just going to put this in a way where you can hopefully see them both at the same time to compare. Hang on, let me just see how exactly. I'll put that there, right? And minus the glare, right, I'm just going to do it this way. So there is the track listing on the Kingdom version, right? And there is the track listing on the Domain version. Lost in the City, again. The Run, We Got Love, Sign from Your Heart, Waiting for Love. Lost in the City, The Run, We Got Love, Sign from Your Heart, and Waiting for Love. Side 2, Riding Through the Night, Rolling, Love Child, On the Line and Back from Hell. Riding Through the Night, Rolling, Love Child, On the Line and Back from Hell. Exactly the same music on the record. Four to go. I bought a cheap album that's now worth money. Right, well I kind of struggled with this initially because most of the more stuff that's on the more expensive side, I've kind of paid a little bit to get most of them, but this one I thought would work. It's an original pressing of Black Sabbath's Mob Rules. On the Vertigo label, 1981, Phonogram UK press. I found this in a charity shop for £5, and it's in excellent condition. The cover's in great nick. It's on, as I say, the Vertigo label. And so I kind of looked it up on Discogs, and the medium price average value of this is £30. The highest is £50. So, you know, for a fiver, I thought that was a pretty good deal, because this is kind of supposedly worth a bit more. So that's my one for that. 18, favourite drummer. Well, like one or two others, I don't really have a favourite drummer, to be honest. I just like lots of drummers, and I appreciate that if you're a drummer out there in a big metal band, you're obviously going to be good. But I'll just go with Nico McBrain from Iron Maiden, because they're my favourite band, so that'll be that one. 19, an album that's turning 20 in 2020. And I've picked this one, Nightwish and Wish Master. This is a reissue, it's not the original present. This was reissued, I don't know when, recently, but the album was released in the year 2000. So yeah, and it's absolutely fabulous. This is a great album by Nightwish. And the last one, show a trilogy of albums from a band where they're all brilliant or fantastic, and there's a kind of a theme or a connection that connects them. So for me, I just went for one of the most obvious, and I've gone Def Leppard, and it's On Through the Night, the debut, followed up by High and Dry, superb, followed by Pyromania, which went multi-platinum in the United States and threw them into superstardom. And the connection for me is basically Steve Clark, because he wrote most of the music for these albums. He didn't write all of the music, but he wrote most of it, and without his creative genius, I believe if he wasn't in this band wouldn't exist. They wouldn't have a career, basically. That is how strongly I feel about that. So yeah, so that's my trio of excellent albums. And that concludes my final tag, and I'm afraid I went 13 minutes over my target, but it's still shorter than last year's. So I'll close up for now, I'll shut up for now, and see you all in another video. Thanks for watching. Bye.